Slađana Jašarević, BNTV. Question to Mr. Stoltenberg. I hope that someone is translating or he should be given headsets. So there are some information recently that leaked from a meeting in NATO that NATO has troops ready that would intervene in case of political or other unrests in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Is this true? Is this your intent, or is that fake news? The question to Mr. Ivanić. You said there is a consensus when it comes to MAP. Is there a consensus when it comes to full-fledged membership in NATO?
Bosnia and Herzegovina is a partner of NATO. We are working together with Bosnia and Herzegovina. We are here by invitation. We have a NATO headquarters here because Bosnia and Herzegovina has asked us to be here, and we are working with Bosnia and Herzegovina to help them implement reforms. And we have no intention, no plans at all to deploy any combat troops or anything like that in Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's not on our agenda. Our agenda is to support Bosnia and Herzegovina, implement reforms they have decided themselves they want to implement. So, for instance, the defense review, which was decided by the presidency in November, and they have now decided the implementation plan. Well, we will sit down together with Bosnia and Herzegovina and look into how can we help them with implementing the review they have decided. So we are here to support, to help a sovereign state, and totally, of course, respect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of this country. We have no other plans. And let me add one more thing, and that is that NATO has never forced any country to join the alliance. It's up to Bosnia and Herzegovina to decide whether Bosnia and Herzegovina wants to become a member of the alliance. It's not for me, it's not for Brussels, it's not for any NATO member to decide whether they would like to become a member or not. It's for Bosnia to decide. But if they decide that they would like to move towards NATO, well, then we will work with them on how to move on that path, but of course only based on the wish from the sovereign government of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
You know that when it comes to full-fledged membership, there is no full agreement, but there is full agreement when it comes to MAP. So, as I said, I believe that it's too soon, this question of full-fledged membership, because those generations of politicians will not decide on full-fledged membership. So let us focus, let us make a step forward to modernize our armed forces, because we need that to develop good relationship with NATO, because we have that cooperation, to give our contribution to PSOs throughout the world, because we can do that. And when conditions are met, then someone else at different time will decide on that. To ask now on full-fledged membership and without even activating the MAP is too soon. And I would also add that it's just a cause for political dispute. So let us stick to this, what we agree, and that is that we will modernize our forces, that we will activate the membership action plan, that we will continue modernization and equipping of our armed forces, continue to cooperate with a powerful alliance which has its global role in the world. Second question, Milica Vučetić, and one question to Mr. Stoltenberg. Could you assess the security situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina in terms of potential risks of potential unrest or potential new conflict? There are medias who were reporting it here internationally. Given the context of the whole region, Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia, since we know that those countries are arming, Serbia and Croatia are modernizing their armed forces. Questions to Mr. Ivanić, since the defense review has been adopted. When is Bosnia and Herzegovina going to modernize its armed forces? When are they going to buy a new piece of equipment?
NATO has been in this region for 2 decades to help to stabilize the region and to help to end wars and to keep the peace. And that's the reason why we continue to stay here. And NATO and all NATO allies are, NATO is a defensive alliance, and we will do whatever we can to try to keep tensions down, to avoid any escalation of tensions. And that's the message from the alliance, and that's also the message I convey to all the countries and all the actors in this region. The best way of avoiding new conflicts, new tensions, is of course to continue to strengthen the security institutions of Bosnia and Herzegovina, continue to implement reforms, and to continue to work with NATO on strengthening the partnership between NATO and Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we are here, NATO allies are working with Bosnia and Herzegovina to keep tensions low, to avoid any conflicts and escalation.
If I just may add a comment to this question, instability may happen only because of us, and we are the only ones who can provide true stability. NATO can support us, but stability depends on us and not on NATO. NATO can support us with that, but certainly cannot impose stability on its own if the domestic political forces do not want that. So political responsibility is with us. We've adopted the modernization plan, and the basic concept is that there are different phases. So in the first phase is to equip individually our soldiers with quality equipment, protective equipment, so that they can meet standards, individual standards, be it a soldier, be it an officer, those deployed to missions, that they have appropriate equipment, and that is not that much expensive because we've concentrated on soldiers, on those who put their lives at risk, particularly when they deploy to peace support operations, and to prepare the armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina when it comes to their support to civil authorities in case of natural or other disasters. And this is what we are grateful for to NATO, because this will be actually the topic of the exercise that will take place in Tuzla. The real other equipment will come at different phases, and the concept is through global financial planning to bring the defense expenditures to 2% GDPs, which is also one of the long-term. The third and last question.
Julian Barnes from the Wall Street Journal. Question to both of you. First, a question to the Secretary General. Are you concerned about Russian influence in the Balkans? For example, do you see Russian influence in the Montenegro coup attempt? And is there anything beyond the sort of advice you're giving that can, that how NATO can help stabilize the situation in Bosnia? And to the chairman, have you seen any evidence that the new American administration, the Trump administration, will change American policy to the Balkans? Or do you foresee at all reduced American influence and a greater Russian influence in this region?
We have seen several reports about increased Russian influence and presence in the Western Balkans, and we've also seen the reports about both from Montenegro but also from Serbia about Russian intervention in the political process in Montenegro before the elections there last year. And of course this is something we are following very closely. We work with partners to improve and strengthen their intelligence services, and we work of course with also all the NATO allies in the region, including with Montenegro, soon to be member, on strengthening their defense institutions and also their intelligence services. The best way to increase resilience against any kind of external influence or intervention is to make sure that the democratic institutions in the different countries in the Western Balkans are strong, fight corruption, modernize, implement reforms, That's the best way to make sure that the institutions are strong and that they are able to resist any kind of attempts to intervene or to influence democratic processes in the different countries in the Western Balkans. So for me, this is just another argument for continuing to work with the different partners in this region to strengthen their different democratic institutions, including reforming their armed forces.
I've been for quite some time in politics in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I know what implications are or what implications were during the Bush administration, during the Obama administration, and we were not a big topic for any of those administrations, and I don't expect to be a major topic of the current president, Mr. Trump. I believe that key political individuals in his administration will not deal with us. We will probably be the topic of bureaucrats in the State of Department, which is not bad, unless we make such a big problem that we become interesting to major politicians, which will certainly not be good for us. Internationally speaking, those who have the biggest role in Bosnia and Herzegovina will be Brussels, because we committed clearly that we want to go towards the EU, and it is natural that conditions, standards, and political legislation influence will go through Brussels. I believe that the influence of the US, and I would add to Russia too, will be brought down to the level of the Peace Implementation Council, and that is their obligation as long as we have the High Rep here. So, in short, I don't expect any spectacular changes of the new U.S. administration when it comes to Bosnia and Herzegovina. Excuse me, another question.
Hi, this is Marilu Lucrezio from Rai Italian Television. The same question for both. What do you do to fight ISIS? Because there are many thousands, hundreds maybe, of young men. They go to fight to Syria from this region. So there is a strong phenomenon of radicalization, and then they come back and they are very close to Italy and they want to hit Europe. So how can you stop it, and what NATO can do for this? Both.
Do you want first or me first?
You
How
first.
can you control them?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mi naravno vrlo pažljivo pratimo
We are watching closely everything that's been going on in relation to people from Bosnia and Herzegovina who have gone to those zones, those areas. In a certain period of time, we had a spike in the number of people who went there. But in the meantime, we adopted a piece of legislation that actually prohibited that, and it even stipulates prison sentences for people who do that. So the number of people who go there has been slashed significantly. But realistically speaking, people who went to Syria and then came back, of course, are a potential danger. Whoever kept a blind eye to that fact would be very naive in political and every other way. Our security agencies are keeping a close eye on that phenomenon, on the situation, and I am convinced that the situation is being intensively monitored. However, the struggle against any form of extremism, regardless of where it comes from, is the key obligation of politicians, religious leaders, of the people from which that problem comes from. So when you criticize someone too much, it could be counterproductive sometimes in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that's why I'm so encouraged by the moves and actions made by the religious, intellectual, and political circles of Bosniaks in Bosnia and Herzegovina for distancing themselves from extremism, from distancing themselves from that abuse. And Bosnia and Herzegovina as a whole continues to support all efforts in the fight against ISIS.
NATO works very closely with the international coalition countering ISIL, with other member states in this region and with partners in the region to address the challenges posed to us by the many foreign fighters we have seen going to Iraq, Syria, both from this region but also from other European countries. So one element in our efforts to fight terrorism, together with the Counter-ISIL coalition and together with other international institutions and partners in Europe, is to address the issue of foreign fighters. And I welcome the reports the chairman just referred to, that the numbers are going down, and it is important to be aware of that some of them are now returning, and this of course is something which creates concern, and we have to follow that very closely. That's also the reason why NATO allies have strengthened their intelligence, and also the way we are sharing intelligence between NATO allies. And we have just established a new division in NATO, which is solely dedicated to intelligence, because we understand, we see that we will need more intelligence and better intelligence to address not least the threats and the challenges which are stemming from foreign fighters. I would also like to underline the importance that religious leaders are so clear in condemning extremism and trying to fight the ideological message from the extremists, and that we all have to stand up defending our open democratic societies, because the extremists and the terrorists, they actually are attacking the core values that NATO is established to defend: open societies, democracy, the rule of law, and therefore the fight against foreign fighters and terrorism is part of what NATO is doing in our overall efforts to defend all allies against all kinds of threats.